today in the world, people are looking forward and are looking for ways of building stronger cities. And my presentation today is to ask if we want to build stronger cities, then we need to involve young people. And I'm here to also represent the aspirations of many, many young people across the globe who are struggling every day to make ends meet and also to build better lives. Before I get into my presentation, I want to share with you the words of one of the great poets, Henry Longfellow. In one of his poems, The Psalm of Life, he says that we must act today so that tomorrow will be farther than where we are today. And I think my presentation is going to dwell and to rotate around how we can take action as individuals and collectively in our communities, in our countries, in our society, and also dwelling on the topic of how to build stronger cities. Urbanization is a major thing today. There are many global trends, and one of the global trends is urbanization. Today, 50% of the world's population are living in cities and towns. And it is estimated that by 2050, 70% of people will be living in cities and towns. And the question is, how do we deal with the challenges of urbanization? Urbanization, like globalization, is unstoppable. We can't stop it. But it presents very unique challenges that we need to deal with. And one of those unique challenges is the mushrooming of slums, and especially challenges that it also presents to young people who are living in slums, because many more young people are coming to the cities to look for jobs, to look for opportunities, and when they don't get decent opportunities, when they do not get jobs that can help them to live decent lives, they end up in the slums. And we have a large population of young people who are living in the slums here in Nairobi, in Kenya, and throughout the world. And if you look at the slums, take an example of a child growing up in the slum. They have no access to basic facilities. They have no access to basic services. They have no access to healthcare. They cannot access education. They cannot access clean water. They have no way of survival. They are constantly under attack, insecurity, crime. They're living in very inhuman conditions in the slums. What happens with this kind of situation is that it can stifle your dreams, it can suffocate your dreams, it can shatter your dreams, because poverty does two things, and the kind of poverty we find in the slums does two things. It can paralyze you, it can make you hopeless, it can make you feel like you are a lesser human being and you are no worth. You shouldn't dream, you shouldn't aspire to be great. But young people in the slums are also dreaming of becoming great people. They want to be doctors. They have dreams like anyone else. They want to be doctors. They want to be teachers. They want to be lawyers. They want to be engineers. They do not have to dream just less because of their situation. And so they have dreams. But because of their situation and condition, sometimes these dreams are shattered. That's what poverty does. But poverty also does the second thing. It can give you determination. It can give you hope. It can give you some sort of urge and resilience to want to get out of it and to say, I do not want anyone else to go through what I've gone through in terms of, going through poverty. And there are many young people growing up in the slums who are saying, this should not be a story for anyone else. No one should grow up in this kind of situation in poverty. I grew up in the slums in Korogosho, one of the largest slums in Nairobi. My parents were extremely poor. They struggled to provide for us and to give me and the rest of my brothers and sisters. By the way, I come from a large family, a family of 9, 3 brothers, and 3 sisters, and five brothers. And I struggled to go through school. I got a lot of support, well wishes here and there, enabled me to go through school from primary, high school, eventually to the university. And growing up in the slums, like I told you, sometimes there's a lot of pain, you experience a lot of challenges, and sometimes you feel like you're going to give up. But one of the things that enabled me to go through life is determination, making sacrifices and commitment, and remaining focused. Recently, I was featured in one of the local newspapers, and I really liked the title that they used for the story, See Where Determination Has Got Me. I think that, for me, is a story I always want to share, because growing up in the slum, sometimes we tell our story halfway. We only talk about poverty. You only talk about helplessness, hopelessness. But I've always wanted to have a chance to tell my story in such a way that it is not just about poverty, but it's also about victory. Because that is what people want to hear. People want to be inspired by the great things that you're doing. People don't want to be inspired by the high levels of poverty or the challenges that you've faced, but people want to be inspired by how you've been able to overcome that. And I always ask myself, what can I do to make a difference for myself and for other people around me and people who are generations that will come after me? Because I always wanted to make Korogosho a place I could call home. Growing up, and every time you tell someone you're from Korogosho, they get a little concerned because they feel something is not going right here. And that is home. I wanted to make it a place I could call home, a place that I could go back to, a place that I could be proud to say, oh, just like someone from Runda or Muthaiga would be happy to say, I come from Muthaiga. I always wanted to say, I come from Korogosho, and people will be proud of that. And so growing up, I saw people coming to Korogosho to witness poverty, to see insecurity, to see crime. I mean, every time there was a flash about Korogosho news, it was always about negative things. A lot of negativity was used to define Korogosho. And so my challenge, and in my thinking, I always wanted to make it a story that people will come to Korogosho to see more positive things. And after going to the university, when most of my colleagues and comrades went to auditing firms, because I did Bachelor of Commerce, Finance, they went to auditing firms, others went to corporates. I told myself I have a responsibility. Because like I told you, I was born and brought up, and I've been a beneficiary of goodness of people. I've been supported by people throughout. I told myself I got to do something. I can go to an auditing firm, I can get a good job, put on a tie every day, but that will just be for me. Perhaps there's a way I can go back to Korogosho and make a difference for other young people. And I went back to Korogosho after graduating from university, and we founded different organizations there. If you've ever heard of Miss Korogosho, that supports girls' education and empowerment program, which was also to portray the beauty of the people of Korogosho so they see themselves, there's greatness, there's beauty within us. We founded the first community ghetto radio, Coach FM, to empower our people. And after that, it spurred a lot of emergence of other youth groups and organizations. And young people started organizing themselves to do something for their community because they felt we have ability, we have power. We might be in a very poor neighborhood, but there's something that we can do. And that's the story of many young people growing up in these kind of situations. Young people trying to get out of poverty. Chinua Achebe, one of the great African writers, the late, says in one of his memorable quotes that if you don't like someone's story, write your own. But I think I can flip that to say, if you don't like the way people are telling your story, tell it yourself, or write your own story. And I think our journey way back from the time we founded these organizations in 2001 to date has been about telling our story, the full story of, yes, there's poverty, yes, there's crime, yes, there's insecurity, yes, there are a lot of challenges that face people living in these kind of situations in Islam. But that is not it. There's a lot of other great things. They have ability, they have talent, they have creativity, they're innovative young people who are doing great, great things. And today, I'm so happy. Every time you tell someone you come from Korogosho, they tell you, Miss Coach, Coach FM. There's a lot of positive terminologies that are now used to define Korogosho. It is out of this kind of initiatives, trying to make it better for ourselves and for others. This is my friend Toto, Francis Ngira. We grew up with Francis in Korogosho. I'm slightly older than Francis, but he was one of our group members in Miss Coach, and he was also involved in the founding of the Coach FM. Toto was a dancer. He did dancing for a living. And they would practice the whole week, traditional dancers. They would practice the whole week, and maybe at the weekend they would get a show. And maybe he would go home with 100 or 200 shillings. He would provide for the family and provide for himself. But one day Toto came to me and told me, Raphael, he had passed very well, he had finished high school, but he could not go to the university. And he told me, Raph, I would want to go to college because my future lies in education, but my parents cannot afford. And because we had come together and we were trying to support each other, by the way, in Korogosho and through these groups, one of the things we've always believed in is that our togetherness is our social security. When we are together, when we come together, we share our challenges, we share our problems, but we also share ways of dealing with these challenges and overcoming these solutions. And Toto, we went with Toto. I asked him to make an application at Mohammed Amin Foundation, which is one of the best, was one of the best. It's no longer doing that. It was one of the best film and television schools in this country. But he didn't have anything. We didn't have, Toto didn't have anything. I didn't have anything either. But I told him what Napoleon Hill says: dream. And when you dream, have faith. And when you have faith, take action. The rest will follow. Things are going to work. So we went, made an application. I was his guardian then. We arrived there. He's slightly taller than me. People were wondering, what kind of a father is this? A guardian who is slightly short. So we went there, and he filled in the application form. We didn't even know where we were going to get fees for him to go to college. He filled in, and what we were able to do, together with other friends, was to mobilize funds to secure that position so he could gain entry. Toto was admitted, but we didn't know how he was going to stay. But then it happened that Mohammed Amin had slots for sponsorship and scholarships. And so Toto applied for this. And that is how, fast forward, Toto finished at Mohammed Foundation with a little support and the sponsorship that he got from Reuters. Today, Francis Ngira is one of the best cameramen we have in this country. He's working with Supersport, DSTV. He's sought after. All we did was to inspire him and to give him little opportunity. That is what perhaps young people need, just inspiration and opportunity. And that is the story of many young people, in the slums, in Nairobi, in our country, and around the globe. I've had the opportunity to interact with many, many young people who are doing amazing work, doing great, great things. And that is their story of how they're trying to overcome challenges through innovations, creativity, and through coming together. But there are many other barriers. They face a lot of challenges. And one of those barriers is leadership. We have a problem with leadership, not just in our country, but even in the continent. Recently, Mo Ibrahim Foundation, again, shocked all of us. For the second year running, they were not able to award the African Leadership Award, which is a multi-million award. They said there's no leader that deserves that. To me, that's quite alarming. That's a crisis, that we do not have a leader. Of course, they normally give to retired leaders. None of those retired leaders merits this award. It means that there's a crisis of leadership. And it is no wonder young people are facing so many problems, including things like unemployment. Today, in Africa alone, 60% of jobless people are actually young people, 15 to 24. Today, in Kenya, the unemployment rate is about 40%, but 70% of people who are jobless are young people. And we know what that means. It poses a great threat and a challenge to social cohesion, political stability, and economic growth. We cannot go anywhere if we have that number of unemployed people. That's why we have insecurity and crime, because no leader is thinking about young people. Our leaders are guided and are driven by greed and selfishness. It's just about them. It's not about serving the interest and the will of the people. And with my organization, the Youth Congress, one of the organizations we founded, one of the things that we are doing, amongst many other things, is to try and build a new generation of leaders. Because unless we fix leadership, then we will not be able to deal with many problems that are facing young people and are facing our communities, our country, and our continent. We must fix leadership. And so we try to equip young people with skills, with knowledge and know-how on how to become better leaders, for themselves, but also for other people. Because we do not want future generation to inherit the kind of crisis that we had, lack of leadership. This is Kemboi. And the reason why I use Kemboi's picture, and these are my two final remarks, is because Kemboi is a great athlete. But to win, you must have some sort of resilience, endurance. People who are able to move up to the finishing line are people who put in more effort, determination. They fix their eyes on the prize and keep moving. And so to young people, I want to say that we must fix our eyes on the prize. We must keep doing our best. It's never impossible, it's only harder. But we should never let harder stop us from achieving our aspirations, our goals. I tell that to young people with whom we grew up in the slums and are growing up in the slums. I tell that to young people I meet every day. Don't give up. Keep trying. Keep doing it. And for sure, you're going to achieve it. And Kimboi is a good example. And there are many young people who are putting in a lot of determination, a lot of effort to achieve their goals and aspirations. And my final remarks, I want to share with you the words of Kofi Annan. Dr. Kofi Annan, who is the former Secretary General of the United Nations, is now quite involved after he retired after his term. He's now involved with promoting youth leadership, promoting meaningful youth participation in all processes. And one of the things he says, and I already alluded to that if we neglect young people, then we are setting ourselves up for failure. A society that neglects its young people, surely it fails to tap its the energy, the creativity, the dynamism, the enthusiasm, the innovativeness of young people will surely be left behind. They won't succeed. And so we have a responsibility as a people to include young people, to support young people. That's the only way to succeed. This is the largest portion of the population, both in Africa, which is a youthful continent, in our country, which is a youthful country. 78% of our population is below 34. We cannot ignore this population. And we know what happens when you ignore this kind of population. We've seen in North Africa, Arab Spring, what happens when you ignore young people. We saw it here in Kenya during the post-election violence, 2007, 2008, if you ignore young people. We saw it in Senegal recently during elections. Every time you ignore young people, their issues and their challenges, we are setting ourselves up for failure. And so I want to challenge all of us as I end, that if we want to succeed, if we want to win, and if we want to overcome the challenges of urbanization, do not neglect young people. Involve them. Thank you so much.